You guys are into it. This seems fun. Alyssa and Chris Coe.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the FlappCast. Behind the Funny, where we talk about what goes on behind the scenes of a comedy club. We talk directly to comedians and find out what the hell is going on with their sets. I am Barbara Holiday.
And I'm just going to keep letting you talk. It's just too fun. I'm Joshua Snyder.
And today we have an amazing headliner, actually someone who's very effective with crowds and such, Andy Peters.
Hi. Hi.
You
Should
like
we
how
all be effective with crowds and such? I mean, I feel like that's kind of like
You're
step
right.
one, be effective with crowds and such. Check. You're a comedian. Like, you can do it in front of them. But yeah, I like to talk to them.
I prefer doing comedy in the privacy of my own bathroom, actually. I'm
I'm
much
a bathroom
funnier
mirror
there.
comedian.
Oh, I'm so funny there.
I'm strictly a passenger seat comedian.
A backseat
A
comedian.
backseat comedian.
So you may have seen Andy on TruTV.
Probably not. I literally have MCs like laugh at that as well. You know, when you're like in my league of comedian, which is like you really dig for the credits, and every show you have to like come up with something. There's that pressure. Like just now, Barbara's like TruTV. That's it. And anything else we can say? No, that's it. I was on TruTV twice. And that's it. And MCs literally laugh at me. But I've done a lot of contests. I did JFL.
Oh,
I
you did?
Just for Laughs. Chicago. I did.
Ooh.
I've done Bridgetown like 3 years in a row. I did South by Southwest this year. I had my own show there. So, you know, in TruTV. But I'm a utility talking head man on like nut shots and car crashes. I'm that guy.
Is that a show?
Yeah, it's called Nut Shots and Car Crashes. It comes on after Lizard Tuck Towing. What is that show?
That's on fake TV, right?
Fake TV.
Not true
I feel
TV.
like True TV is it's cops arresting people, people just doing their mundane jobs, and comedians screaming. That's that whole channel. That's the whole. So I'm one end of that.
But also, aren't
Equation.
you also a writer for Carl's Jr.? Or
No, I do. Not Carl's Jr. Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box?
He writes the recipes.
I write-
Jack in the Box. That's
You're
too
the
obvious.
house chef.
I can't talk about that. I'm not. I sign contracts. I can't give you Carl's Jr.'s burger recipe, Snyder. Quit asking.
Commercials, you mean, right? Is that Josh?
I work on the production team of, it's freelance, but I work with the company that makes all the Jack in the Box spots. The guy, the big head,
Ooh, those are funny.
the big head spots. I work on set on those. I started doing those just to kind of learn. I moved here from Seattle, and it is kind of like there's this pressure of like now you gotta learn how to make films, because either like you make your own films, like you transition in a way from comedy to shooting stuff. So I started like interning and PAing in the commercial world, and just one thing led to the next, and now I coordinate with that group. I help make Jack in the Box spots. And they're silly, they're funny, it's good comedy.
And I believe the director is also always the guy. He's the voice of of Jack, right?
Yeah, the director is the voice, and the guy inside of the costume is named Jack. So the whole process of making a Jack spot is the most like weird, surreal
Jack?
world within a
Jack
world.
who? Jack 1? Jack 2?
Yeah,
Jack 3?
his name's like
Jack
I
off?
forget his last
No.
name. But this guy's got
In
it
the
made,
box,
by the way.
please tell me.
Sidebar, this guy's the best acting gig I've ever come across. He plays Jack, he puts the head on, no one knows what he looks like, and then he lives on like his own island in the Pacific Northwest, in like the Vashon Islands. He like private planes in, does 3 days worth of work, and then just hits it back to his island. And that's his life, and he plays Jack, and that's it.
Well, he's
Wow.
like a SAG principal, and there's like no conflicts or anything
Yeah.
like that, so he's
he-
raking in the dough on
He
that.
rakes in the dough,
Yeah,
he gets
you
paid like as an actor, and he's like loopholed it, so he also is a puppeteer, quote unquote, like putting on the helmet is
nice.
puppeteering as well.
Sneaky.
But yeah.
Do you think he's had sex with that hat on? The thing.
I don't know, they're pretty strict with like getting it off his head. I've been on set where like as soon as they yell cut, there's a team like grabbing that thing.
I want to know about the nose.
That is actually, I can't even say like the secret of the nose, but they're interchangeable. And like all the different faces you see Jack make is like a guy's job to like when they yell cut, he comes in and he's like the face dude. So that's a job too.
Oh.
I learned that in LA. There's so many jobs that are just
You're like a Jack
that
Fluffer
specific.
or something. You're
Yeah,
like
he's a Jack Fluffer.
Jack Nose Fluffer.
That's exactly what it says on the call sheet. He has to come at 6:30 in the morning, and he's the Jack Flupper. He gets breakfast last, and he likes it.
Do you have to eat Jack in the Box food?
You have to eat Jack in the
Do they
Box.
like cater from
No.
Jack in the Box?
No, they don't
God.
even. I think they
Imagine.
realized long ago. Like I've heard stories of like in the 80s, fast food companies used to try to make you eat fast food while making a fast food commercial, and then it was like quickly that like crews were like, no, we're not gonna do that because we don't want to pass out at 3 p.m. of some weird, horrible food.
Too many
coma.
bathroom breaks being called on that one.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fascinating job.
It is fascinating.
And Seattle, I myself used to live in Eugene, Oregon, so I
Oh,
feel
really?
a little Pacific Northwestian with you.
Yeah.
What prompted, did you go to school up there, or you were born there?
No, I'm from Michigan. I'm from Michigan and went to school in Michigan, and right out of college, my now wife, then girlfriend, it was kind of like a weird like pick up and move, go to Seattle thing. We wanted to be on the West Coast, but it was almost like we didn't want to do the full-blown LA thing yet. And I always had this weird, like, in the grunge era when I was in high school, I always had this weird, like, wanting to be in Seattle thing. So we just went for it. But we pre-looked and realized, like, you can do comedy in Seattle. There was, like, 2 clubs when I first started, a lot of open mics. So it's a good regional scene. And I always tell people that, like, if you have that opportunity to start in, like, a regional scene before you... to get your feet wet and like really learn what your voice is and really figure out your persona. Like if it's an option to you, do it in like a Chicago or a Seattle or like a weird town that has like 1 club. It's fun to like have your group there. And then once you're comfortable, I moved to LA. Once I felt like, okay, I'm comfortable and I'm working, you know.
So you did the Seattle, tell us all the places, Seattle Underground.
Seattle Underground, yep, was my home club, and that was like the first place I started open micing, and it was
Ron Reed.
Ron Reed, still there, bless his heart. Love Ron Reed. And then, yeah, you know the whole Seattle crew. You know, when you start working, you work for David Triple first, and then you go out and you do some triple runs, and then you come back and you're like, I'm not doing any more of those. And then you keep doing those for like 3 years, and you realize you do the circuit of that, and that's how I started. And then I got swept up by Pat Wilson.
I know Pat Wilson
and
very
she
well.
was managing me for a while, and she is very connected to clubs. So when I was with her, I was getting out of Seattle, so I was doing like Zanies in Chicago and Nashville, and then going out to even doing like Helium in Philly, and I thought I was just like doing it. I was like, oh, it's like she's sending me out to real like clubs around the country. I wasn't just Seattle guy. Because in Seattle, you kind of stay there, and the work is casinos. And Pat Wilson books like all those. She books all these Indian reservation casinos, and they're all like an hour, maybe the most is like a 3-hour drive, and you go to the islands like Vashon Island and Anacortes, and it's all like the Northern Lights Casino, or the Bumbling Springs Casino, or the Roaming Deer Casino, like all the names like that, and they're like Indian casinos, and some setups are better than others. Some have like a theater set aside where it kind of feels like this, where it's a room where everyone's facing you and it's comedy ready, and then other casinos you're just in an island where, you know, casino games are still happening around you, and you're just shouting out to people playing.
Stop putting your money in the machine and listen to me, for God's sake.
And you just hear like the Wheel of Fortune machine, and all those have like those robot voices that like spring up, but in like a weird unison. So you're like, guys, have you been on airplanes lately? What's the thing on? And it's just like you're like it's a constant like battle with you and these
you hear
like robot
screaming, you
voices.
think it's for you, but
Casinos are the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for drudging up that.
Sorry about that, Andy.
No problem.
So how long you been in LA now?
It's 4 years now.
Oh, wow. Now, wait, let's go back for a second, because
Yeah.
how did you get into comedy? You've been a professional comedian. Did you have any other jobs, or what, you know?
I had
writer
odd
now.
jobs. I did my first time on stage was actually probably the most like ideal situation you could have. Most people don't get this, but my first time was a college contest. I went to Central Michigan University in Michigan, and they had through like the student paper they had a contest, and it was a contest that was going to be the opening act for Colin Quinn when Colin Quinn came through. So this was when he was on SNL. So he was the Weekend Update guy at the time. So like kind of in the height of his fame, and so he was like, you know, pretty famous at the time. So it was a big deal, and they had and like nobody showed up. I thought it was gonna be like compete. I thought it was gonna be like days. The newspaper article phrased it like it was gonna be like rigorous days and challenges that you had to go through of like multiple rounds of competing. And I show up to like where you're supposed to go, and it was just like 3 other people, and one guy did like literally did an Adam Sandler song, and another person did like, do you know Kevin Nealon's, how his style of act where he does like things under his breath between his acts, subliminal message guy. There's a guy doing that, like subliminal message style comedy.
Guess what my jokes are about.
Yeah.
Inside, I know, but it's all subliminal.
No, he was literally doing subliminal guy. Like he was saying jokes and trying to like shoehorn it into this like. But I was like the only one who like wrote jokes. Who was really I think I was the only one who understood like, oh, you can't do this unless you write like your own stuff. So I understood right away that that's what comedy is. Like one guy was doing other people's. They were all doing other people's material. One guy was just doing like street jokes. He was like a bigger guy, and he was like, people say I need to get in shape, but I'm round, and that's a shape. Good. And like literally hitting like a splash cymbal. So I was like, I got this. I can like just kind of go up there.
Do you remember your first joke?
Some of them, yeah. It was a lot of stuff about my family. I was just writing weird stuff, and we had a dance club in town called the Wayside, so I did a lot of like local humor, just making fun of like the masses that go to Wayside and like the dance club scene, just like really like recognizable stuff for that specific group, and it just like crushed and killed, and I won. So that my first taste was like I won this thing, but again I was up against Adam Sandler, an Adam Sandler song, and street jokes.
What were you studying in school?
Theater.
Oh, okay.
Well, broadcasting and theater, I was doing communications. So it was like, like I saw it, and my friends encouraged me to do it. My roommates encouraged me to do it. But to me, it was like, oh, this will be an exercise in getting on a stage, performing. I was thinking about doing it, and I in high school did a lot of radio. I was like the morning radio guy.
Ooh, so give us an example of that voice.
It's kind of this. It was kind of radio-y guy, high-pitched, old-timey radio guy. I've hung on to that voice. Like I feel like. People always tell me, like, if you were a comedian in, like, the 30s, you'd be so famous. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I got that voice.
If only...
That's my comedic voice.
If only I was born in another era, I'd be famous. Yes.
The silent era. I was a comedian in slapstickier times.
Yeah, the face for radio, as they say. Yes.
But yeah, that was so radio transitioned to theater, and then theater was kind of like just natural into comedy.
Did you do a lot of musicals?
I didn't. I can't sing. I'm not a good singer, so I was always doing. At my high school, we did a musical in the fall, and then we did a dinner time murder mystery in the spring. That was my go-to. That was my wheelhouse.
What were you, the killer, or what?
I'm not telling you. You'll never know. You gotta figure it out.
Well, it's a mystery.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
I see.
So if you've never been to a dinner time mystery, it's like the whole cast could be the murderer. And in a play, like a storyline acts out, and then there's a time while they're eating their dinner that they can interview each person. And I always played like the moderator, like I was supposed to be like the journalist coming to cover the murder. Like I played that part multiple times, and people would always pin the murder on me, the journalist, covering the murder. Like people would figure out like he came in, planted a murder, and they're just grilling the one guy that could have done it. With questions.
I have done those myself.
Yeah?
Play a mystery for me. I was in a group when I first came to LA.
Theater.
But I was always the murderer, actually, because I look so young and innocent, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Oh, did you do the ones where they decide who the murderer is?
Well, no, you come as guests and you sort of fake. So I would come and I would be the date of someone in the company, you know? And... only the person I was with knew, but other people in the company did. They were like, "Oh, John's date," you know, and then you had to pose as this character, and then at the end you have some big monologue. I did it. My daddy hated me, and you know, all that. Yeah. So I had to kill somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. That was like,
hey, they pay the bills, you know.
Right?
I did pretty good. All that live stuff, you can make some money doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a gig of doing that on trains where it's the same sort of thing, and you do it on like an active train. I actually wanted to do it. Like I had an opportunity when I first moved here to do it, but those acting gigs when you're like a comedian who's on the road, like when I first moved here I was still doing the road, and they were like, we need you on a train for 3 months, and you're just going back and forth on the train, and I was like, you gotta pay me a lot to do that. A train back and forth?
I feel like that could very easily lead to a real murder. I think that's it.
Yeah. Has that ever happened?
Done.
A murder mystery train. 3 died on a murder mystery train over the
All
weekend.
suicide. All
Cast
suicide.
members. They were cast members.
No one knows who did it. It's a real news mystery on a murder mystery train. Oh, that's gonna happen.
So you do a lot of crowd work in your show. That's how did that come about? Like, is that something that you plan, or
It's not something. No, it's just naturally in Seattle. I started playing around with it, and I don't even really call it like crowd work because I don't do stock like where are you from or I guess it's more like improv, or I just kind of like I try to make up whole chunks on stage, or I just like kind of find scenarios that are happening in the audience, or I'll just talk directly to people or get like stories directly from people and try to build that into a thing. But yeah, it's never like I don't come down to where you work sort of thing. Like it's not like stock lines. So I don't know what to call it, but I like to like make up whole chunks of my act, and I don't stick too much to a set list.
But have you like done the Groundlings or Acme or any improv
I
stuff
have,
here in LA?
Groundlings, I did 1 round of Groundlings and didn't make the cut and was just kind of like, and I did, I go to UCB a bit and I've done some stuff with them, and I did improv a bit in college, and I was in a group. Yeah, I've done a little bit. But yeah, those are always just like tools that I use in stand-up. And yeah, I never got too into like actually I've never been in a troupe. I've never been like
that's good
in a group called Mixed Nuts or anything like that. Mixed Nuts!
Nut bag, whatever. What was the name?
But now the names are just like Elephant Face, and you're like, great, all right, you guys are Elephant Face. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Or are you the face?
Yeah, we're Pajama Brain. Cool. You're shoving words together.
It's like bands, just the craziest name you can come up with.
It's really fun to name things these days.
Yeah.
Because you really got to top, like everything's been named, and now it really is just a word jumble.
I always want to name a band Nipple Hair.
Nipple Hair?
Yeah, I don't know. It just has a ring to it, like Nipple Hair coming to the stage.
Got my NH tickets.
What's the sound? What's Nipple Hair's sound?
Aggressive industrial, like really aggressive industrial. Yeah.
A harp.
It's
or
coarse.
just weird
it's coarse.
Yeah. It's harpsichord music.
A flute and a harp and Jack White.
And a saw player. Just that in the background.
I see the improv, yes, it's fun. So what's great about that as a stand-up, your shows are always different, fresh, new.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the big thing with me, is kind of like the rule I have for myself. It's like never the same show, and I like to be a different kind of show every time, and really for that audience. Like you had to be there to see these specific things. Like some people even like after a show will be like, I love your bit, or they think it's like a normal bit I'm doing, and I'll be like, I don't even remember, did I say that? That's great. And sometimes you get bits out of that.
Okay, so let's talk about process then. Do you record yourself? Do you write stuff down? You bring some prepared material? Tell us about that.
I record most everything from my cell phone, and I'll listen back, and because I do have a terrible like on stage memory, or like I won't be able to recite back to you a lot of what I even said like in the first chunks of a longer set. So I'll go back to the recording and realize like some of those things are kind of the kernels for a bit, or could be plugged into a story that I already tell. So I do like
Anti-Alzheimer's Peters.
It is. It is. I have 31, and I can't remember anything. It's rough. But yeah, I do record a lot. I have to do that as a rule, or I'll just forget everything I did. I'm currently preparing to do an album, and I'm having a hard time with the order of how I want to do everything. That's always tough for me, is orders and lists, and most people are really good about sticking to their set list, and they'll do things verbatim, right in the order, and I get so kind of scrambled brain if like anything happens that gets me off the list. It's just kind of like, oh, whatever comes to my mind next, I'll do. Whatever like smoothly transitions to where I'm at.
I think this is a constant battle. I think that a lot of comedians have.
Well, Jeff Garlin was here this weekend, and he was literally like, I'm going to do my 60 minutes. I'm working on my 60 minutes. And then he could not, and literally on stage he was like, Barbara, see, I'm going to stick, no, I'm not sticking to my 60 minutes. I'm going off the track. And he could not really stick, I mean, but it was great. What he was doing was awesome, and he was improvising, and I think that's great comedy. I like the off the cuff stuff. It shows your natural wit and
It's spontaneous and you feel
sensibility.
natural. Yeah, and I almost feel like I get bigger laughs for those moments than I do for like stuff that I'm beginning to feel like, oh, I can tell that the audience can tell that I've told this a million times. And then in the middle of the set, like those moments. But like Jeff Garland's like a longer form story guy too. So he'll just like even describe like things that may have happened earlier that day. And it's hard to find a place. If you really are working on like a half-hour set, it's hard to just shoehorn one of those in there without totally like losing place.
He was actually telling us that he delayed his special on purpose because he needs more time.
Yeah.
Because putting the order together and getting it all, you know, it takes a long time.
I wish I could push mine. I'm recording mine next week. Next Wednesday.
Where at? Where?
The Virgil Theater.
Oh.
It's a cool place.
Sounds like Joshua's Virgin Theater. That sounds excellent.
That's good. That's good.
The Nerdy Virgin Theater. Where is
that? Do you need? Are you looking for investors?
Yes.
I'll cut you a check right now. That's gold. That's gold, baby.
The Virgil Theater. I don't know it.
It's in East Hollywood. Yeah, it's on Santa Monica, kind of in the.
Why not here, Andy? Why not here?
I don't know. No one asked me. Let's do it tonight. I'll do it tonight. We'll just record my Yoo-Hoo Room sets this weekend. Call that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier than hiring a sound guy. And, like, I'm hiring a camera crew too, and there's so much pressure to like have. I'm doing like an hour, and it's like you gotta do like everything that fits together in this hour. And I'm just the kind that'll be like, I told the director who's filming it, like, just so you know, I send him like a set list. He asked for like a transcript.
Right. Yes, as all directors will do.
Yeah, and I sent him an outline and with a little note. I said, just note, I am not going to stick to this. There's going to be moments where you're like, what is he talking about? And I don't know what I'm talking about. But they're going to be in there. So just
now, are you producing this yourself, or is it by a company you can't name or something?
Yeah,
like
no,
that?
I can name the company. It's Clef Clips Productions, and they do the Super Serious show, which is at the Virgil Theater. It's a monthly show. So they're trying to do a series of recordings at their show, kind of like a live at Super Serious show thing. And so, yeah, it's going to be me doing like an hour of material, and Eddie Pepitone's on the bill.
Eddie!
Karen Kilgariff's on the bill, who's one of my favorites. So it's kind of like an in
That
friends
sounds like a great show.
It's going to be good. Yeah. So that's what I'm gearing up towards now. But I'm just trying to get in that mindset of like a start to finish special. So I've never even tried to tackle that challenge before. And in LA, that's tough because you do a lot of 7-minute sets, 12-minute sets. You're here, you're there, you're like piecing it to get like a patchwork quilt. You're putting that set together in separate chunks. So, but you kind of have to like leave town. Like I left town last weekend and went back up to Seattle and did a club there called Grit City in Tacoma because they were going to let me do like 4-hour-long sets back to back to back. And I was like, great, I'll be up there. Whatever you want to pay me, like I'm on the next flight because I need to do a bunch of hours back to back to back to wrap my head around doing that, because I don't do it a lot here in LA, in the LA region.
Well, do you have any ETA on the special? Are they planning to launch it? Are they putting it on DVD only? Do you know? So people can find it?
Well, it's going to be a straight-to-digital thing.
Great.
I don't have a date. Yeah. We're working out the details of, hopefully it'll be direct to some digital, hopefully Netflix. And it will be an album also on everything from like iTunes to all the digital formats, and will be on Sirius XM and all that stuff.
So Andy's headlining in our Yoo-Hoo Room this weekend, Friday and Saturday, so you can come see, and obviously you come to all 4 shows because each one's going to be different, right?
Each one will be different. I'm working on different chunks for the special, and it's going to be fun. I love that room. That's one. Honestly, Barbara, that's like my favorite room. In town. It really seems like
we all created it here at Flappers. Yeah, it's a lot of love went into that room.
I can tell. I really can.
Working on it. Yeah.
I love rooms like that. Like this room's great too. The main room that we're in right now is always fun when I get to play it. But there's something about the intimacy of a room being filled up, like feeling filled even with maybe like 30 people in it. Like it still feels like a substantial audience, and they're in it to watch. I've been like late on a show And there's that late in the show ism where like a room will kind of fade out on you and not be good in like the later half of the show, but not that room like that.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because there's a running joke that we will tend to, if you're on a late show, we tend to put you on later knowing that you can handle the late crowd. To be perfectly honest, like we know, oh, he'll be able to.
Andy Lateberg Peters.
I just outed myself as like, all right, well, you're going out late.
Late Peters, right?
But he's right. I mean, there's always a point where like the audience starts to tire out, and you can't put a one-liner comic there or someone who's low energy.
You need energy.
Then it's just going to be death. But
yeah, and I'm loud. Like I'm a louder guy. Well, so it's kind of hard to be like be subdued
and present, and always doing something new.
What's your website? You have a website? Is it?
Yeah, AndyPetersComedy.com.
You had to add the comedy. Was there already a Peters?
Yeah, don't even. Oh man, this is a whole thing.
I know.
You're really
sorry.
There's a tech blogger, and I hope he's listening. Andy Peters, who lives in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been having a constant battle with him. He got Andy Peters as a Twitter handle, and I got to go underscore on it. Andy underscore. Can you believe that?
What about the
Andy
real?
Underscore Peters? I got to do that because of this.
You should have done Andy Underpants Peters. See,
Andy Underpants Peters?
Better.
You know what? That's a little wordy, but I like it. I like it. But I had a battle. My first day on Twitter was like a practical joke battle with Andy Peters, the tech blogger from Omaha. And the craziest part of it is he's my age and he kind of looks like me. He's like a young balding guy, pasty white young balding guy who kind of looks like me.
So everyone thinks it's you.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's me.
Don't think it's you.
We get this runoff, and on day one, like he told me like of all these people that were trying to find me. And I was like, send them my way, man. And he was like, I'm taking all these followers. It's great.
Right.
He's like, I think there's these guys trying to follow you, but it's really helping my tech blog. And I'm like, how dare you, Omaha Andy Peters? And I asked him nicely for the handle. He wouldn't give it to me, so we started a little war. On my at Andy when I first started at Andy underscore Peters. My picture was me posing like his picture. He had a picture of him in front of this like red sports car, like all chill looking and looking cool. So I found like the same car just in the streets of LA and posed by it. I was like, "What do you think now?" And I started a whole "Who's the Real Andy Peters" campaign. I either knocked him down a couple of pegs or launched his whole tech blog empire. I don't know which I did. But either way, it's positive.
I think it's so weird how people are putting the real. Like I got a Twitter, and I get a lot of tweets from great big name comics, and now there's that whole the real Mike Epps.
Well, that's because of that situation.
But how do I know if that's really the real Mike Epps?
I thought if they're real, there's a check mark next to their name.
No,
like,
anyone can get.
Well, there's that, the verification.
The verification.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get verified before Omaha, Andy.
Wait a minute.
It's another
I don't
thing.
know about this then.
No.
So you're saying if it says the real Mike
You get
Epps,
that blue check mark. That's Twitter giving you the go-ahead.
Right, that's
nod.
Twitter saying this is.
How do I get this blue check mark?
I don't know.
I need to get this.
You gotta be famous.
I know.
Illuminati? I'm not sure.
But some people have it where you're like, are you famous enough to have the check mark? I don't know. Like some people have like 300 followers. And I'm like, how did you get the check mark? What did you do? And I don't know. I don't know the process. And they keep it very secretive. If you send an email to like support at Twitter or whatever,
no one will call you.
They won't lay it on you.
I know.
Like, if you just like email, how do I get verified? Hit me with the deets.
Right.
They won't. They
blue
refuse.
check mark.
And a week later, you have 10 less followers.
And you're black marked and you're on a list of like, do not follow.
So follow Andy at Andy Underpants Peters. Andy underscore Peters.
Don't follow at Andy
What's your
Peters. It's N. There's also an Andy N. Peters. I couldn't have that either. I had to have that on Instagram. And then Omaha Andy got to everything before me. He got to Twitter before me. He got to Instagram before me. I'm one step behind Omaha Andy, and it's been a real...
I'm going to write this Andy in Omaha.
Please do.
Yeah.
Direct message him. Follow him just so you can
DM him.
send him nasty DMs.
We got to go on to punch it up.
Yes. So we got Andy underscore Peters on Twitter. Andy AndyPetersComedian.com.
AndyPetersComedy.com.
Comedy.com.
Andy_Peters, not at Andy Peters.
Okay.
You know, you should just call yourself.
Yeah.
Your Twitter handle should be Andy Tech Blogger Peters.
Yeah, I'm the techiest tech blogger there is. And then there's
Out-tech the tech
there's a
blogger.
British children's TV show host named Andy Peters, spells his ANDI. I mean, I can't constant battle with him. My life's tough, guys.
Okay.
I gotta,
So the wonderful Andy, we would love it. We do this portion of our podcast we call Punch It Up, where we ask some comics to come on, do a little bit of time, and then we give them feedback. They're going to do about 3 minutes.
Let's do it.
And then they'll hear this annoying sound like beep beep, or the sound that Ed never
do you want me to make
plays
an
when I
annoying
announce
sound?
it.
All you gotta do is ask.
I'll just go. Oh, perfect. Andy will do the sound effect at 3 minutes, and
No, don't.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I
They'll
can't
do,
have that
applause.
on my
And
life.
comedians, you'll see a red light go on up there. Ed will flash, and then you'll come over and talk to us on the couch, and we'll chitty chat about your set. How about that?
Yeah, so I'm just listening for now?
Punch it up, Joshua.
All right.
What do we have today?
Yes, first coming up, we have Mr. Chris Cope.
Oh,
Let's see your name wrong.
just taking his own sweet time. Just take your
Sure,
time,
look at me
Chris.
confused.
Don't worry.
It's Chris Cope.
Chris Cope.
It's Chris Cope.
Cope. Chris Cope. Chris Cope.
No, I was,
Welcome.
I didn't realize I was doing this.
Okay, you gotta talk into the microphone.
Here you are.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize I was doing this. Never mind.
Surprise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Surprised 100%. No clue.
You've never done comedy before.
No, I've been doing comedy 10 years. I just didn't know I was doing the 3-minute thing. I didn't know.
All right, do you not want to do it?
I just don't know what to do right now.
Comedy? Comedy would be good.
What do you, I mean, I could do specifically, I don't know what to do. I wasn't prepared to do.
Well, you can go off the cuff like Andy Peters here. How about that?
Don't hurt yourself.
I'm not going to try to.
Do your best stuff. Do your best 3 minutes.
Yeah, have fun.
All right. I've been arrested 4 times.
Oh, all right.
I have, yeah.
Start.
One of the reasons why I moved to California. Got tired of going to jail annually. I've been arrested possession of marijuana, possession of marijuana, possession of marijuana, and paraphernalia. Means pipe. I have to look that up myself. Possession of marijuana. And people love to judge me, especially on the East Coast, because it's illegal. And they always have the same look. Like, what kind of idiot gets caught doing the same thing 4 times and doesn't stop? And I understand that's good logic. But you gotta look at it from my point of view. They caught me 4 times. But that's 4 times out of the 2,611,919 times I've gotten high. I'm on a hot streak. Ain't nobody gonna hold me down. I'm gonna keep on smoking. People love to judge, man. My first arrest was in the state of Georgia. I was living in a comedy club. I was about to connect with the interstate. And I always like to smoke because when I go to the interstate, it just makes it easier because it's always a pain in the ass to smoke, drive, and text. I'm casually speeding through this small town, and I figure everything's cool. Time to get high. Pack my blow up, take my first hit. As soon as I end, I look behind me. A state trooper pulled out and threw his lights on. I freaked out immediately and started blowing the smoke back in the pipe like. Do you have any idea how hard it is to slow down from under 40 miles an hour and air your car out at the same time? I had a cumulus weed cloud sitting in my back seat. And the cop saunters up. He's like the nicest guy I've ever been pulled over by. First thing out of his mouth is, "How's your day going, sir?" "I don't know yet." He's like, "I pulled you over for speed." I'm like, "No, you didn't." And he goes back to his car to get my ticket. And I'm sitting there having a panic attack, a bowel movement, and an aneurysm all within one emotion. He comes back with the ticket and starts going through it and stops midway through. "Sir, I'm getting a strong odor of marijuana coming from the inside of your vehicle." "Really? Son of a bitch." He's like, "Do you have any marijuana in the car, sir?" And that's when I paused. So I'm an American. I have rights. I could have made him, could have kept it going, could have made him bring a drug dog, but that hit the logic of that hit me instantly. A drug dog would have got, what, 150, 200 yards in front of my car. I looked at the cop like, "Are you fucking serious? I don't need to be here." So at that point, I just realized honesty's the best policy. When in doubt, just be an honest person. I said, "Yes, sir, I do got weed." I reached in my center console. I grabbed my bag out, I had a couple grams, some shake, not much pot at all. I handed it over to him. He immediately turns into a dickhead. First thing out of his mouth is, "This looks like 14.5 grams. I was like, bullshit, where's my scale? My second arrest, actually it's my fourth, it's my most recent, was in my hometown. I was hotboxing my car with a buddy of mine. If you don't know what hotboxing is, basically sit with a car with the windows up and you smoke till you're marinated. Excuse me. And we were there for 45 minutes, almost an hour. After that point, the car was so fogged out, we could have played Marco Polo sitting next to each other. And then out of nowhere came, someone came rapping, gently tapping on my Chevrolet door. My reaction was, fuck, can he see us? At that point, 2 officers pulled me and my buddy out of the car. My buddy and I hang back with the one cop, the other cop starts tossing the car looking for the weed. Before he finds the weed, he finds 11 lighters. When he found that 11th lighter, something went off inside his head. I've never seen a cop just go from a normal search to, really, sir? 11 lighters? 11 lighters in one car? I looked at the other cop like, I couldn't find one. I was using matches. That's it, I'm done.
All right. Chris Pope. Do you want to wait? Come over and talk to us. Will you grab that microphone and come on?
Okay. She was on what all this was, so he just told me to show up at 5 o'clock. I was like, I'll show up. I got nothing to do.
Can I let you know that I got the Edgar Allan Poe reference? I just want to let you know.
High five. That's That doesn't want to get the biggest laugh. I hate when that doesn't get a big laugh because
it was solid and I loved every second.
I want to kiss you.
Well, how long you been doing comedy, Chris?
10 years.
Oh, that's right. You did say
It
that.
shows. It shows, man.
Yeah.
You got that smooth, that only time gives you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The smoothness of time.
Right.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
That's my new album. The smoothness of time.
I've had comics, you hear in your voice you've been up there. I'm like, it takes a while to have that confidence to know you can.
Natural confidence.
Yeah, just be funny up there.
Do you know what's funny? I don't think you look like a criminal at all.
Oh no, that's and you know why?
I
That's
mean,
the reason why I've never been busted for anything bigger than a misdemeanor. And I've done a lot of felonies.
But let me say this though.
I love you.
No, the way you're
I want to say that.
the way you're talking to me right now, though, it's awesome, right? Listen, it's an interesting dynamic that I think you can play with a little bit more because that's great. Like, I almost don't believe you when you tell me you're arrested. I'm just gonna say that's
people
my
say that.
gut.
That's why I think it allows me to get away with saying more outlandish things because they don't necessarily either believe it or they like me so much. Like that's at the end of my act. That's the last 4 minutes of my act.
Okay.
So I mean, up for the beginning part of the hour, it's all lovable, cute.
Yeah.
And and it gets dirtier, not dirtier, but just more like I've worked in a porn shop. I've done these things, So I ease into it.
Interesting.
You're like what I call best buddy comedy. Like I want to be your best buddy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like I want to hang. Like you got that style of like let's come over. Come over, play video games with me, and let's shoot jokes around. You know what I mean? You got that cadence to you that's very buddy. Lovable's a good word for you.
Yeah, I get that. That's what a lot of people say. I like it though. It works. It's me. I'm not anybody else.
Which makes the stories of arrest even more interesting because it is out of character, and I think that makes for a more interesting layered character for you to have situations in your act that you wouldn't see like the teddy bear kind of guy.
Yeah, especially like I talk about working in the porn shop and stuff. Like, I mean, most of that stuff is just my facial reaction. Selling like specifically in a bit where a lady she wants to get a toy. She takes it off the shelf. She looks at it. She goes, "It says it's waterproof." To what depth? And I just stare at her. And I've honestly been able to milk that joke for 30 seconds by staring. I'm a big fan of Jack Benny.
Yeah.
That guy would spend a minute and a half and not say a word and just sell the shit out of it.
Yeah. Now, my only thing, Chris, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to be blunt, those listening. But you are a white male comic, right? So you're in the majority of, comics. So my only advice when you have a short amount of time is maybe try to... when I said about not believing you as a criminal, your jokes are solid. I mean, you're technically...
You should be a black person.
No, yeah. Come on now.
No. If you look at the woman I'm dating currently...
Perfect.
I am more of a...
No, my thoughts are just to get a little more of what you... who you are in a short set, because it's a little... It's unbelievable to me.
I didn't know what, honestly, when somebody came to the podcast,
Josh,
I didn't know.
You didn't prepare.
I just literally was like, we're going to come, because I've done podcasts where I've been ready to stand up. I'm just talking like he was.
Right.
So I just assumed that's what we're going to do.
Well, we are.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know I was going to do, I would have, I could talk, I've had an aneurysm.
Ooh.
I can talk about that. What do you want to talk, you just said do your best stuff. I'm like, I'm doing my closer. whatever something I can do with my eyes closed.
Excellent.
You know, if you want me to tell you this story, I can do whatever you want.
Well, I see you're coping with everything.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Look at that pun. Put you in the penitentiary.
I know. I was thinking, Josh, do you have any notes for him?
Solid stuff. I'm sorry that I wasn't more clear. I feel awful.
No, it's okay. I was half drunk when we signed in front of this thing anyways. If my thing had gone off my phone, I wouldn't be here. So, whoa, careful.
Sorry, I lost my
No, I'm
glasses.
just
I just
gonna
can't.
sip this beer.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's been
I
trying
can't
to
see
sip on my delicious golden Hefeweizen.
This could be
Well, great. I mean, one other thought that I had for you was just when you were doing the weed, you had a bunch of weed stuff. Well, and then that one area where it was after the weed cloud, and then you were saying that the response half the. Do you remember your punchline there? Okay.
Well, no. What?
It sounded, you were saying these weed jokes, you were doing a lot of setups, but you didn't have a lot of punchlines there. Sorry, no one's
What
helping me
specific
here.
part?
Right after the weed cloud, it was a weed reference
I
number
got
56 times.
that. I got that joke back. Well, the middle part of that I got. There was a punchline
maybe I
before
thought-
that, and I just, like I said, it wasn't
Awesome.
prepared.
I don't want to nitpick, I'm just trying to help.
No.
you know?
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Like I
honestly
get 3 minutes to see you, and I
That's
want to
fine.
know the best. You know, I want to know Chris Coke.
Yeah, if I would have known, I would have had something a little more. It would have been more prepared than just, hey, do your stuff. I'm like, okay, let me.
It
just,
was great though. I really enjoy your
Me too.
energy, and the jokes are there. And Josh, nothing. You're not chiming in. Andy, anything else for Chris?
No, I just liked it. I like your point of view, and yeah, it's like buddy guy. But maybe like in that just that chunk, like they were saying before, of maybe more tags about like why it is weird that you aren't the typical guy that would get arrested. Like maybe.
Yeah,
like,
I'm really looking
I
for
don't know.
that.
I don't.
Oh. Well, yeah, like I said, I just didn't know what this exactly was.
Yeah.
No, but it's just advice when you're even doing those jokes is be aware that people don't.
Well, I mentioned in my act, like I
Yeah.
say things like about the fact that I live in a cherub face,
Right.
and it just when I do my act, it just kind of explains up to that point. So
Do you think you do all these things like work in a porn shop and stuff because you people think you're so innocent, or
No,
are you
I got the job at
rebelling?
the porn shop because I needed work at the time, and a
Oh,
friend of
okay.
mine got me the job. I smoked pot because I live in this world like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Some people drink coffee, some people go to church. I get high. It's all how we deal with the world we live in. You know,
Right,
so
right.
it's just kind of who I am.
Do you have stuff about how like internally like you're a bad boy just trying to break out? Like
No,
that's
I
kind of
don't
what
like
it
to go
feels.
too overboard because
Yeah.
like with the rest of my act, it's really likable, and I want the crowd to like me. I don't want them because I've been super dirty on stage, and I feel them like almost walk out of the room, and like I've said certain words on stage, and you just go, they just tighten up on me.
That's an
Probably,
interesting
yeah.
goal,
Trigger
though.
words,
Wanting
yeah.
the crowd to like you is tricky to say that because you really shouldn't think about that so much. As I mean,
Well, I
you know,
understand
like
the boundaries of what I
Yeah.
can kind of get away with.
Yeah.
I don't like I cross a line, and they just go, we don't, we like you a certain way, and I'm still being me in that respect. So
Yeah.
I'm not selling anything out just to be likable. I just think it makes the jokes hit harder.
right, right.
And it allows
Yeah.
me to like throw out my hour, I inch by inch. By
You do
inch.
an hour?
Yeah, I have.
That's awesome. Wow, great.
10
Yeah, my
years,
first
right?
album. Yeah, my first.
Where are you
album was
from?
Florida.
Okay.
I know JC. You know JC.
Yes.
We're gonna tour together in colleges and stuff like that.
Excellent.
Temporarily, we're almost done with that. And
Awesome.
I'm going
Improv
to-
stuff, right?
No, it's all three of us.
Oh, okay.
We're in Pennsylvania this week.
Great.
But yeah, no, I like to inch by inch by inch by inch. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris,
Yeah, no
for
worries.
joining
Thank
us.
you,
I hope it
Chris.
was helpful
For sure.
today. And
Yeah.
give it up for Chris. Oh,
Thank you.
we got one more, right?
Right.
Excellent.
Guys, keep going for Alyssa Sabo.
Alyssa. Woohoo!
Ooh, this
Alright.
is comforting walk-up music.
Got a lady, too.
Hello.
Hello.
I love being judged and critiqued. I'm excited. Should I face you guys?
Am I J-Lo? Is Harry
Welcome back to
Connick
Judged
over
and
there?
Critiqued. I'm Judge, that's
Keith
Critique.
Urban right here.
On it. Bring it on.
I love
How I
I'm getting
thrive.
goosies. I'm getting goosies.
You're Paula.
Yeah. J-Lo.
Should I face you guys? I feel weird
You can
having
do
my
whatever
butt.
you want.
Okay.
You just let it go. Let her rip.
Let it go. That's a popular song right now. Okay. And action.
Okay.
Earlier today, I walked in on someone going to the bathroom. I'm not going to say if she was going number 1 or number 2, but it wasn't number 1. Now, okay, most people, this has happened to you. I know it's happened to you. I know
Me?
it's happened to you.
Jay,
It
let
has.
me.
Most of the time when this happens, you run far and fast in the opposite direction. You don't want that person to see you. You never want to see them again. I stay. I wait for her to come out. I look her in the eye. Sometimes I grab her. And I say, hey, that was pretty embarrassing what just happened there. But I feel like I owe you this much, okay? I'm going to tell you something personal about me because I just saw your behind. All right, here's the deal. I had a liver transplant. And then I go into the story and I tell her, yes, it is true I did have a liver transplant. I am a walking miracle. I'm so precious. It's unbelievable. But I have to be honest with you about it. Well, first of all, let me explain. Middle school was intense. I got invited to all the great parties and I just didn't know how to say no. But now I do have to say no. I cannot drink alcohol, and I wish I could drink alcohol after this show because I feel like I'm going to need something to, help me. Let me break it down for you. Most of you may not have had a transplant, I don't think. So, I'm going to bring you into the world. I've just got back from a transplant convention in Dallas, Texas. That's a thing. That's a real thing, transplant convention. There's a tier, all right? And the livers are at the bottom. Too loud. In this corner, number 1, you have the heart transplants. They are the most revered of all the transplants. Everybody's just, fawning all over them, looking at them, like, look at them. They'll be able to love again. Oh my gosh, they're so precious. And then over here, you have the lungs, and they're just, hanging out, and they're just like, check it out, I'm breathing. And it's cool because these aren't my lungs, but I'm still breathing. And then you've got the corneas, and there's like a choir of black people singing like, I once was blind, but now I see. And they can see. And then over here, you have the 70-year-olds and me. And we're just hanging out, So it's rough. I gotta be honest. But then, going back to the woman in the bathroom, she's still there, we're talking. And then I go into my next thing that makes me a pretty embarrassing person. And that's the fact that I'm a 23-year-old virgin. I know, right? I'm scared of penises. I just can't do it. But here's the thing. I know that when I do have sex, I'm going to be really good at it because I'm really good at accepting foreign objects into my body. I'm really, really good at that. So just beware, fellas. When it rains, it pours, I think. For me. I feel like that red... There it is, there's the red light. And that's a wrap.
Alyssa!
Oh my God!
Did you pick up the audio of my spit tape? Did that pick up?
23-year-old virgin.
23 years old.
32-year-old virgin.
Oh my gosh,
Joshua
hi.
Snyder.
There's not many of us. We're kind of like dinosaurs.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Out of town. Get right out of town.
Let me explain.
Are you Mormon?
Yeah.
No. Let me explain.
Josh, are you Mormon? What are all these virgins running around?
I'm just a loser.
Whoa! Virgins are the best!
Virginity is in.
It's running amok.
Apparently.
There's a lot of us.
They're just crazy wild virgins running everywhere. It's insane.
Well,
I know,
virgins,
this
not
couch is...
crazy. Well,
Straighten it up, it's really bugging me. Chris really messed up. He rearranged the couch.
How long you been doing comedy, Alyssa?
4 months.
Ah, okay, excellent.
You can tell.
Well, are you in class or
Fresh.
anything like that, or are you just starting to experiment and?
I'm really just finding myself. And so I'm
in
doing
more than
it.
one way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's what it is. I mean, that's your first. When you first start, that's all it is trying to figure out what it is that you're doing.
yeah, and seeing what gets a reaction
Yeah.
and kind of feeling it out.
And you like deciding how personal you want to be and
Yeah.
deciding really what doors you are willing to kick down your own self. No, that's true. Like what stories are you willing to tell? What things about, like, you're very open very soon. You're 4 months in and you're already talking about how you're a 23-year-old virgin.
That's
You're
cool.
talking about medical operations that you've had. So you're off to a good start as far as, like, most people have a hard time kicking down that door of personal experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're talking about that stuff right away. So I feel like you're diving in head first, and that's a good thing.
But
a lot of
let's-
people do, like, street jokes in their first 3 months because they're scared to really talk
Right.
about themselves, you know?
He's right. That's huge. But let's help her a little bit, right?
Help me.
Well, you have a lot of topics, so you want to be just thoughtful. If once you say you're a 23-year-old virgin, you got to tell us why, what, where, something more. You got to give us a punchline, or
Yeah.
once you open that box, it's gonna lead
being
us.
a virgin is the punchline.
Oh, okay. Hello. No, but here's I'm going to tell you something.
The foreign objects in my body.
Well, so
you
hold
don't
on.
need to go into all that either.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Too much?
Listen, you're actually a really attractive woman, okay?
Oh, okay.
So, and you need to be aware of that because when you're saying you're a virgin at 23, so that leads, it's great. We got a lot of punchlines here. Like, why are you a virgin, right? Are you Mormon? Like
Because you already heard the reaction.
Are
One
you Christian?
freakazoid in the corner, Richie leaves,
Richie
was
leaves.
like, "Bugga-gugga."
So it's just part. You gave us a setup. Now we need a. You know, if you're gonna tell us that, then we need to know more.
Okay,
You know,
Right.
I had something. Can I share
Yes,
with you?
yes, please.
So then I went into this. Like last year, I was engaged, and we were saving it for marriage, and then that ended, and then I moved to LA, and thought, who's gonna marry me here? And then I realized nobody gets married in LA. So that was my other thing, though.
Great.
So it was kind of like a
these are all layers to that story. And even I want to know more about your liver transplant.
Well, that's-
like all the layers, like you kind of skim over things that are like, whoa, these are juicy, topical,
Right.
only personal to you. Like, you know, no other comedian has a liver transplant bit.
How old
that
were
would be
you?
very much your thing, but you gotta be willing to dissect every angle of that
How
story.
old were you when you
I
had
was
the-
21.
Okay, so that was just 2 years ago.
years
You
ago.
look so healthy and vibrant. I mean, I would think
It's
if I had my-
wonderful what a good liver can do for you. So great.
well, and I hate to be cliche, but I don't know how. We just excuse me. Could I have your liver, please?
Yeah, right.
How do you not go to that at all? Do you know what I'm doing, Monty
No.
Python?
Oh, I should know
Excuse me,
that.
but like, well, you're opening. What's great is, like Andy said, you go into some really personal places, but there's so much there that you really, I would recommend dissecting, even just brainstorming, and maybe just write a list of complaints about it. Like, are you upset about having a liver transplant? Whose liver did you get? Did you get the liver of
think
an
she was a slut.
80-year-old alcoholic? You know,
She
whatever.
was 37.
Okay,
And
see,
now I love the 80s.
right, perfect.
There
You
it is.
just-
Oh, okay.
You just tagged yourself. See how we do it?
You
Yeah.
guys are great.
That's really important stuff.
But like every aspect of the topic, like I don't think you can just glance over.
Yeah,
I got
a liver
a liver
transplant.
transplant. There's so much there to sink your teeth into. Like
I don't even like
Barbara said,
liver.
list all the things that, all the aspects of the timeline of that event and what was like weird or interesting or an observation you made of each individual chunk of that event, and then you got yourself a story. Like a
Just to
story is
help
many
you.
layers.
Right,
Okay.
right. And what do other people think about your liver transplant? Like, did your boyfriend, are you not engaged because of the liver transplant? I mean, that timing sounds interesting.
Yeah, we got engaged about like 2 months after, and it was an emergency. I was like in a coma for 10
He's
days.
like, I got a hot young liver
You were in
here.
a coma for 10 days?
I was.
See, this bit gets better every
know.
second.
Yeah.
Well, that's
She
why I
was
was...
in a coma. That could play into the virgin thing. She was in a coma for 10 days. I mean,
23 years. No.
that's primo time right there.
So maybe she's not a virgin.
Yeah, who knows?
I,
Gross.
true.
That's-
It might have been like...
Oh, yes.
We got the light on that one?
Yeah. You just walked the room.
But there's a lot.
staff left.
You got good stuff. And I
That's
think...
why I wanted to be so personal with what I was doing, because I think that it's an interesting path that I have been dealt. So I
You
figured,
have a life
and I've
that-
always found
yeah.
comedy and everything. So
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. Well,
Yeah.
I teach a marketing class, and not to go too much into that right now, but I will say that like Andy said, you don't have to name yourself this. I'm just saying, like, we might start to associate with you being the hot young liver transplantee, you know, and then, believe it or not, like, medical conventions have you
The
come and
virgin
speak.
liver
and-
transplants of comedy.
Right. It's a sketch group. It's an improv group.
Coming to your town soon.
Virgin transplants.
Virgin plants.
oh,
Virgin
I love it.
transplants.
People with donor cards get in
Virgin
free.
Diaries.
Perfect. Well, you have a great energy, and you are going to the right places. Like I said, just a couple little ideas, or write down that list of complaints and
Yeah.
confessions. That's
Yeah.
a good. We teach that in our classes here, and it just might give you more of those details. But what we're saying, you could have just done this bit just on being a virgin.
Okay.
You know, you have really broad topics, so dig into those details
Yeah.
and bring back those. We like you.
And I would like to say, as a fellow high energy person, early on, I recognize in myself something that you're doing too, where you're trying to just get as much into the time that you're allotted.
Yeah.
And you know, early on you're not allotted a lot of time, so you're trying to cram joke into your chunk of time. Really live in those moments. It's one thing when I learned to do that, I got instantly more comfortable on stage when you perform the bit itself with high energy, but live within the bit for a little longer. You're just trying to get.
Okay.
It almost seems like you're like,
Great
here's
advice.
this thing, on to the next thing. Here's this thing, on to the next thing, and you're glancing over things that are really juicy and interesting and what
Yeah, I
makes you
feel
a
that
person.
like sometimes with the crowds, like and they're just like they don't have a second to digest it, and then I move on to the
Yeah.
next thing, and they're laughing at us, and I'm like, wait, did you? I don't. Like,
Well,
I
give them the reasons why the digestion of it is interesting.
Yeah.
Like live in the
Okay.
story for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually your responsibility to make sure that the audience is
Yeah.
in
Yes.
that moment with you. And you know, one great exercise, I'm sure, when you had the transplant, you're in the hospital for God only knows how long, months.
About a month. and
Did
a
you
half.
write? Did you record? I mean, anything from
Couldn't
that?
really do much. I was pretty. I had to like relearn how to walk and talk. There's a lot of funny
Jesus,
stories.
but look at you! You look like a friggin'. No one would.
I
ever
rollerblade
guess.
a lot.
Oh.
You have a whole act of stories just from that experience.
yeah.
So really, I mean,
I would
just
journal.
right,
Okay.
right.
Yes, I would definitely start jamming
Perfect.
that notepad up.
Just
Yeah.
jamming that notepad up. I like that as a
I mean,
phrase.
yeah, you got a lot. And don't worry about being funny at first. That would be my advice for you right now because you're so new. Just write all that shit down. And then you'll go back later as you get better at joke structure and you'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But the closer you are to the memory of what you went through right now, I highly recommend writing that down now because you will forget it. Like Alzheimer's Peters over here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a...
If I had a liver transplant, I wouldn't have been able to write a bit about it that day. I would have been like, what? My liver got transplanted? When did that happen?
Do I have to pay for this?
Where am I?
Josh, do you have anything?
Well, I just I think from that because I watched you and I think it was a Clyde's or it was
Yeah.
the show. Yeah.
Second
And,
place.
yeah, there you go. On to the Super Bowl, which is coming up. I think May 19th. By the way, so
Good
I thought it was the 14th.
14th, May
When
There's a
14th.
plug.
All right.
A Wednesday in May at some point. But good T-shirt idea was shouted out to you, the audience, which was "Show us your liver." I think.
Oh yeah.
Show me
the
your
scar.
liver.
There's
Yeah.
a big scar.
He's already, man, you're on your way to being liver comedian.
But as
Heads
a-
up. Heads up,
The
America.
only other thing I would say as a fellow virgin is that because you're doing a lot of comedy where you're basically revealing stuff that is
Yes.
very deep and and one thing that I encourage you to do is see how really watch how the audience reacts when you say I got a liver transplant or I'm 23 and still a virgin, because just by watching their reaction they're going to kind of give you punchlines in a way, like how they react is if they're like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
Come on, pussies. Yeah.
Yeah.
What, you know.
That's a good point also with talking
Heard a
about
transplant before?
with playing off the audience. A
Yeah.
lot of those
Yeah.
moments come from, and you might find a spontaneous moment and don't be afraid to tackle those either, I would say too. If an audience member like cringes that you're a virgin,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can dive headfirst into that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You only understand hair transplants. This is
Yeah. Whenever
Whoa.
people are like,
Take that,
"Oh."
bald guys.
right.
I'm bald.
I mean, I've been to a bunch of comedy shows where someone will reveal something that is like, and then the audience will be like, oh, and then they'll be like, don't say oh for me, and just I think that's important. I need to be more aware of like what the crowd is, how they're feeling, because every crowd is different.
And I'm not just saying this to
Yeah.
push Flappers University, as I say Flappers University, but I highly recommend being as young as you are. I would totally get into a class right now, whether it's our classes here or somewhere, because the community that you'll build right now and with the experiences you have, you've got a lot of shit to talk about. And you have perfect stage energy. Now you just need to harness it and really put it into joke structure. And that would just be my suggestion for you, because if you just go to open mics, they're not going to support what we're talking about here, really. You're going to, you can work out that feeling on stage at an open mic, but really, you've got some good stuff to write about. So I would highly encourage going in that direction, and while you're still young. Yeah?
Thank you.
Good?
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Thank you,
Ashley.
Alyssa.
Amazing.
Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Oh, that's okay.
Fuck, I was thinking of your liver.
Oh, yeah, her name is Ashley.
Yeah,
How did you know? No, her name's Olivia.
Oh, was it? Oh.
That's your new liver's name?
She knows the name of her
Sweet,
liver.
sweet Olivia.
Alyssa Seibold?
Sabo.
Sabo.
Yes.
Alyssa Sabo. Well, that's a hard name.
It is.
but I'll get it.
I don't know if it's that hard.
I just have Alzheimer's.
Barbara.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
know. Wow, she
Wow.
got me. She showed me, didn't she? That was,
Alyssa Seibold.
yes.
See?
Sabo.
Sabo.
Sabo. No
Yeah.
D on the end. Whatever. Andy, wing it, will you?
I'm trying.
What a fun time we had today.
Thanks for having
What
me.
great energy. So, any last plugs that you want to, other than hair transplants?
Ouch!
You want to?
Ow! Wowzers.
So, this weekend in the Yoo-Hoo Room.
This
At
weekend in the
Flappers.
Yoo-Hoo Room, May 7th at Virtual Theater, I'm recording my album.
Can people just go see that and pay for tickets? Awesome.
Well, yeah, you
Okay.
can come. You can totally come. I want you to.
Please, God, come.
Please come to that. Dear Lord, help me. And yeah, AndyPetersComedy.com.
Follow him at Andy_Peters.
Do not follow Andy Peters.
Do not follow Andy Peters. Got it. Andy
He's got a
Peters.
lot coming in. As soon as I get to Omaha, Nebraska. Whoa, heads up.
All right, well, just a couple more great announcements of who's coming up. We have Jimmy Dore in Claremont this weekend.
And the incomparable Dat Fan in Burbank this
The
weekend.
original winner of the Last Comic Standing, Dat Fan, won the first Last Comic Standing. Also, amazing, Mr. Dana Carvey
Ooh.
has actually came to our Claremont Club last night, Sunday, this weekend, and he'll be appearing in Claremont again on Mother's Day.
Favorited one of my tweets once.
Really?
Not a lie.
Was it the
That's not a
real
lie.
Dana Carvey?
Yeah.
Or,
No,
yeah.
yeah, there was a
Not
blue
the
check mark next to
Ah,
his name,
got
and it was
it.
a favorite.
Look for the blue check mark, everyone. So, what a great day. Thanks again for joining us. Please don't forget to download our Flap app. It's amazing how many...
Get out of here. It's not called the Flap
The
app.
Flap
It is.
app. and
Yeah.
People don't
Of course
even know
it is.
about it. But we do celebrity alerts and discounts and deals you can't get anywhere else. So, it's really cool, and it's
Flap
for Android, too. And please visit us on our website. We're doing some overhauls, so check out flapperscomedy.com for all the latest updates on the schedule and stuff. Thank you so much for listening. Please tell your friends. I am Barbara Holiday.
I'm Joshua Snyder.
And flap out. Thank you, Andy Peters.
Thanks.
Flap out. Yes, I love that that's what it's called. Would you like